So is this where you guys come in and do some kind of harmonization to intro the bonus episodes, or what?
Shbeeby papa popo shima na 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 no no.
Wieners, wieners, wieners.
No.
Dude, Brick is just so focused right now. Nothing's funny to him right now.
No, I was actually I was double checking the audio and make sure it was actually quality.
Well, I appreciate your dedication to the listeners. Mark, you are crystal clear. Your gigabit internet, which is not really gigabit internet, looks great.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
All right, so we're back for episode 2 of season 8. Obviously, if you're listening to this early, it's on our Patreon. If not, you'll catch us later this week. You can find us at patreon.com/thechumpcast. Let's get overall first reactions to episode 2. Brick, go ahead.
Reunion episode 2.0. You know, it's just with the secondary characters not secondary, but like Jamie and Brienne had their moment, and, you know, Theon and Sansa had their moment. The Mormonts kind of came together and saw each other again. Sam and Jorah again. You know, there just wasn't the exact hype and what I wanted, I guess. But I knew that they weren't going to do no one was going to get killed, and it was going to be another build-up episode from what we were talking about last week. So I'm fine with it.
So you're let down?
Not let down by any means, but it was fun. I just keep saying that, the next 4 are going to be bangers, but I assume that for the whole season. So,
well, we've got like another 6-7 hours of Game of Thrones. So, Mark, what was your reaction to the episode?
I'm pretty much on the other side of that. I thought this was the episode that pleases all Game of Thrones fans before they ended up just killing off everyone. To Brick's point, all the reunions and seeing everyone, their initial reactions when they come face to face with each other, like Jamie and Bran and all that stuff. I thought that I loved this episode, and I got super emotional over some of the parts that we'll get into.
I mean, it was cool in terms of like the irony of, you know, everybody's fought the Starks and now they're all sitting there defending the castle. They're all just kind of like reminiscing about their last night. It was cool. Like, I didn't hate the episode by any means. I still loved it. I just want to see some carnage, which is going to happen next week.
How much money would you have won had you bet that through the first 2 episodes there would have been a grand total of 1 death in Game of Thrones?
And we barely even knew the kid.
I don't give a shit about that kid. I'm glad he's a human pinwheel now.
What were the odds of Ghost popping up for the second episode? Or
it was even.
That's ridiculous. I don't understand why any of the direwolves aren't in this more, considering the budget that they have. They have $10 million per episode on this. You can make fucking dragons, but you can't make a dog look a little bigger? Come on.
Seriously.
This episode opens, and again, like you guys described, it's more of the same. It is that thing it's dangling the carrot in front of you, where it's reminding you how much you like these characters and why, and they're soon to be taken away from you. So,
yeah.
We open on Jamie meeting with Daenerys and Sansa and Jon Snow, and his plea to basically not get murdered. Once again, Bran Stark, the 3-eyed douchebag, comes in with the killer one-liner. The writers are really trying to get me to like this douchebag. The things we do for love. And he's just like side-eye glancing at him like, holy shit.
Just looking through his soul.
Is he just going to get 1 line per episode that's absolutely murderous?
No, Bran, you don't need Bran to say that much. Even the few sentences he does say just hit pretty hard, just with his creepy-ass stare that he has at all times.
But I don't really want him to say much. Like, he doesn't have anything that interesting to say, and when he does, he just sounds like a pompous asshole.
He should have interesting things to say, considering he knows everything from the past, future, and present, right?
Yeah, but they don't even show you. When he goes to have that conversation with Tyrion later on in the episode, they just cut away from it completely.
I want to know what that conversation was like, but you kind of know what he's going to say, or do you?
They didn't give us a chance to see that, and they didn't show it in any of the recaps or anything, so I wanted Tyrion to kind of like call him on his nonsense, I guess.
Yeah, and when he's like, I'm not Brandon Stark anymore, then who the fuck are you? Tell us.
Yeah, shut up, you douchebag.
Another thing that kind of did come up, actually, was every time there was about to be an awkward conversation, there was always some assistant or some advisors like, actually, come here, we need you immediately. So I wanted to have more of that awkward tension.
Or a bunch of White Walkers were showing up, but we'll get to that later. Let's go back to Jamie. Do you guys think there's any chance that he turns on his new team, a la Kingslayer, and just go Queenslayer?
No, I think he's had enough of Cersei. I mean, it's been 7 seasons of her. I don't know how anybody can stand that much. You have to be literally dead You'd be the mountain to do that.
I think that there's part of me that is open to that, the possibility. I'm kind of just watching him out of the side of my eyes, but that's interesting.
After Bronn comes and tries to kill him, I doubt that there's any redeeming qualities that he's going back to Cersei,
I don't think that's going to happen either. By the way, we got zero of Cersei or Bronn or anybody on that side of the Seven Kingdoms at all in this episode.
True. A lot of shit happened at Winterfell, though.
It's got to be a first, right?
Cersei's just getting railed by Euron still.
Ugh, come on, man. Is there any chance that Daenerys actually fires Tyrion as her hand? Or did they just completely squash that in this episode?
No, they squashed that when she went on her tirade about needing his mind and he shouldn't be going into battle.
True. And how do you feel about her being power hungry? Is that going to be her downfall, or is this...
They did kind of show her as literally only caring about that one thing, didn't they?
She even said that's the only thing she's ever cared about since day one.
So we do finally get the reveal, quote unquote, that Jon Snow is actually Aegon Targaryen to Dany. As you mentioned, that's literally the only thing she gives a shit about, is sitting on the Iron Throne. I don't think, and I think you guys would probably agree, that Jon Snow doesn't give a shit right now about being king. He probably doesn't want it at all.
He's deferred it so many times, just keeps getting put back in his lap.
He didn't even want to be the head of the Night's Watch.
Or the King of the North. People are just like, come on, man. You're just destined.
It's probably like, how do I keep hooking up with Dany and not make it so weird that she's really my aunt?
That no one's addressing that at all. Yeah, exactly.
Is it okay if I go into a theory brick, or are you going to
go
close up into a cocoon? So the internet is abuzz with the song that Podrick sang, and by the way, was beautifully reproduced by Florence and the Machine at the end of the episode over the credits. It's called Jenny's Song, and it's a reference to the books Jenny Oldstones. When they do a song in this show, it's always a reference to something. It's always like a premonition or whatever. And apparently, Jenny, is the story of a woman who married a Targaryen, and that Targaryen relinquished his claim to the throne, and then his brother took over, and that was the Mad King.
Wow. So that would be...
Did I just ruin this for you?
No, the premonition of Dany.
Well, actually, it would be Jon probably foregoing the throne, but...
Exactly. No, and then Dany would be the Mad King.
Well, hopefully not, but sure.
Something's going to get twisted.
She did roast the Tarleys.
True. But that guy kind of dick on, and the other guy sucked.
Speaking of which, Sam got a little bit to do in this episode. He did kind of go out there and remind people, I was the first one to kill one of these assholes.
Yeah.
True. He had that another auxiliary cast member with the guy from the Night's Watch, who used to make fun of him for being a fat loser.
Why can't I remember his name?
Super forgettable. I can't even recall it, honestly.
When he showed up, I halfway was just like, am I supposed to know who this dude is?
Barrack, the guy with the thing over his eye?
No, he's not one of the Night's Watch guys. He's from the Brothers Without Banners.
True. He had another meetup with the Hound. We'll talk later.
Sam does get a chance to speak with Ser Jorah Mormont and give him his family sword back, which is, he says the old bear was like the only guy that taught him anything and taught him everything he knows about the Night's Watch and being a Meister and all that stuff. That was a pretty cool scene, right?
Yeah, no, it's Sam's relationship with him is cool.
One scene with Podrick that I liked is when he was just owning all those guys in training. Just over the last season, how much he's developed as a soldier.
He's evolved.
And Brienne still knows she could kick his ass.
Easily.
She's like, all right, settle down, buddy.
I liked when she was pouring him wine, or he wanted to go for wine, and Tyrion had the flask or whatever, and she's like, well, only a half a cup of wine. Tyrion literally overflows the cup. Amazing.
That wine looked disgusting, too. It didn't even look red. It was like fucking dirt color.
She's such a mom, though. She's like, oh, that's not a good idea. Only half a cup. And then that whole scene for me just didn't really do it. And the fact that they all met was great. I really enjoyed that. It was all of my favorite characters minus Gendry. But you got Tormund, you got Tyrion, Jaime, Podrick, whatever. Ser Davos is there being the fucking man, who also has another great scene in this episode. But I just don't care about her feeling good. And
you didn't care when she was knighted?
Not really, man. I don't know why. She's still a badass regardless of her title. So why does that matter?
Because it matters to her.
She's
how
breaking
emotional
the glass
she was.
ceiling. Yeah, of knighthood.
She's not going to fight any better. Your whole argument about pro woman is kind of moot because it's Jaime trying to get into her pants anyways.
Okay.
I think that's why it's so special, because of the relationship they've had over the last few seasons, her and Jamie.
Exactly, and how it's gone back and forth from a different power dynamic, as you say. Because, he was the Kingslayer, then he saved her and sacrificed his hand to save her from getting raped, and then now he's like back in Winterfell. Had his back, saying that he does have honor with the Oathkeeper, and then right now he's back to her. He's like, hey, if you do have this front, you have the left flank, let me fight. I would be honored to fight underneath you. She didn't respond to that, but then he is a knight, so it's such a change of power throughout their entire relationship. It's pretty cool.
The only part of that entire scene that mattered to me was Tormund and his backstory.
He's like, I would knight her 10 times over.
My favorite line, probably in the entire series, is the big woman still here?
And then a close up of his face. Yeah, that was amazing.
He also has another killer line that's like, yeah, we're all going to die, but at least we'll die together.
True.
Just keeps it real, man.
It also leads his freaking story. Do you want to go into his story?
His origin story is great.
I mean, I don't think we need to repeat it for anybody that's listening, but...
True. But the fact that it led Sir Davos to be like, you know what, fuck it, I actually do need to drink after that. That's insane. Because he's notorious for not drinking before battles and stuff like that. So it's a nice little nod.
I just think it's funny that Tormund could be like on a Got Milk poster now.
Oh my god, that would be the ultimate Got Milk guy.
Are there any moments in this episode that really hit you hard? Speaking more towards Brick and less Smithers because he has no feelings.
Yeah, no, I thought what was really awesome was when the little girl who kind of looked like Stannis' daughter came up to...
Oh, yeah.
To
No,
Davos.
fuck you. That was mine. That hit me in the feels. You can't have that.
And that was awesome. And then Gilly comes in and was like, yeah, I would really appreciate it if you came and, helped us out in the crypt. Which, how far of a reach does, the Night King have? Is she just going to have all this freaking Starks just rise from the dead into the crypts?
I thought about this a little bit, and all that is left of Eddard Stark in the crypt is his bones, and I don't think they even have his skull, so I don't know. And would a White Walker actually have to get down into the crypts to resurrect someone, or
how
what?
Close do they? Yeah, how close do they need to be to resurrect people? Because if they're going into I think anywhere in Winterfell, if he's close to Bran and he resurrects people, I would imagine there's going to be fighting in the crypts no matter what. It's just, I don't know if it's going to be all bones and skeletons and shit. That girl's getting a kill. She's putting one on the board.
That's too obvious, though, right? For them to all go down into the crypts like the most important people, and then for all of them to just come back to life.
That is also the safest place, though, too. It has to happen.
Let's think about it for a second. The one scene where the Night King resurrected a mass amount of soldiers was what? When they were fighting the wildlings?
True.
And he wasn't that close to them, was he?
He was. He also was not that close when he resurrected the dragon. He was probably farther for that.
So I think there's a possibility he can just be like, okay, headless Ned Stark, arise.
Can you imagine? That would be terrifying for all the children to see Ned Stark being just a headless body. I'm into it.
All right, let's turn the focus to Arya, because she had one hell of an episode, I guess.
Power moves for days.
She's kind of a dick to Gendry, isn't she?
Very much so.
I mean, she walks in, basically criticizes his work, and he shuts her up by just slamming that axe into a piece of wood, which is kind of badass. But does he like being negged, or what?
I think she's just pulling straight power moves. She just fought through all the bullshit. I got tied down, and then leeches sucked in my body. And then she's like, oh, was she your first? He's like, no, we didn't do it. No. Well, how many people have you had sex with? She just bypassed the question completely.
Yeah, that's really none of her business, is it?
She doesn't care. She made it her business.
I think after he witnessed her throw 3 perfectly succinct knife throws at the wooden flank or whatever, he realized he was the woman in this relationship.
Were you guys uncomfortable watching her get it on?
Yeah. Very.
We literally have watched this girl grow up for the last 10 years. It's weird.
Yep, she's seen some things.
She did kind of get put in her place by the Hound for a half a second, though, when she finds him up on top of the wall. Basically, she says something to the Hound to the tune of, you only look out for yourself. And he's like, well, I took care of you, didn't I? You little bitch. He didn't say that last part. I added that part. But he was thinking it.
He was.
And then Beric Dondarrion comes out of nowhere and he's like, do you have a moment to talk about our Lord and Savior, the Lord of Light? And everybody's like, shut the fuck up. because we're all going to die.
Out of here. That's sweet. You can light your sword up. No one cares, man.
He's got a silky smooth voice, though. I do appreciate that. He sounds like he smokes a pack a day.
So, do we care about Grey Worm and Melisandre's relationship at all?
I was just going to bring that up.
Missandei, not Melisandre. Those are
whatever.
Well, I mean, that could be confusing, Brick. So get it right. It felt a little shoehorned in here. I get that they're trying to say something about social norms and society and racism. But if you're going to focus on it, I feel like you have to give it its due time. And they did not in this episode.
Yeah, you don't really see their relationship progress that much.
Well, and you don't really... I mean, Brick, correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as racism goes in Westeros, they don't really hit on it all that much.
Not really. They just kind of literally had the one scene where she was saying hi to the children. They just like walked away. It was shoehorned in, and I'm sure they tried to make likable characters, and I'm sure the book like fleshes that out a little bit more. But at the same time, this is just we don't see the White Walkers just doing some damage.
The book doesn't exist, Brick. The book will never be written.
I'm hoping that the book fleshes it out more, and I'll care about him, I guess.
I don't think that's going to happen. I just am more interested in figuring out how they actually have sex. Speaking of not having wieners, how pissed is Theon right now that he just doesn't have a member to work with?
Yeah, dude. Do you think he's going to be like qualified, or is he going to get the true redemption story that he deserves?
You think he deserves it?
I don't think he deserves it. You're right. That he is yearning for.
Maybe that he thinks he deserves. I don't know. I think it's an interesting plot line. I still like his sister better than I like him, but...
How much do you think his confidence is back on a scale of 0 to 100%?
Dude, Sansa really kind of just threw herself at him. So that probably helped.
In the book, Ramsay actually like forced Theon to like eat out Sansa, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, well, I'm glad they didn't recreate that scene.
Yeah, just throwing that out there.
Can we back up for a second? On the weapon that Gendry is making for Arya, what is up with this? And why is it so special? Like, it comes in 2 pieces or something? Like, what's the deal with that, do you think?
I thought it was just Valyrian steel on a longer stick, basically.
It's dragon glass.
She didn't add the dagger to it?
I
thought that's what she was doing for it.
I don't think so. I could be wrong.
Because Valyrian steel kills the whites as well.
Also, they have a lot more dragon glass than they do Valyrian steel.
Yeah, that's why you'd use that weapon instead of the dragon glass. Anyway.
Fair enough. I think that there's some significance to it, and that's why I'm mentioning it. Let's go to the war room scene, because this was the collection of all of the greatest minds of the battle that's basically coming next episode, right? I think the best part here is that Sam Tarly is asking the question everybody else is thinking, like, why the fuck would the Night King give a shit about Bran?
Yeah, and it's a history of people.
Bran says he's trying to wipe out the history of people, right? To do that, he has to kill Bran. In order to do that, doesn't he have to kill everybody?
Yes, that would make the most sense, because if you leave one, they're going to keep... The story will live on.
But isn't the whole point because Bran can see into the past?
Okay, but if there are still people around, then there's still history being made. What I'm saying is I think Bran is overstating his importance. And also I hate Bran.
You hate Bran so much.
I do. He's the worst.
He's like, how are they going to find you? Because I have the marks. You're like, just shut up, Bran.
But this is something that actually makes me think maybe that they are going to get into the crypts. He says he's going to go to the Werewood instead, and Theon and the Ironborn are going to try and take care of him. That would be the way that they could keep him alive while murdering basically everybody else that's down there. But that would also mean that Tyrion dies.
No, Tyrion's going to fight back. I don't think he's going to die. He's going to do something noble, per usual. I don't see him dying this episode.
A for sure death will be Brienne of Tarth, and most likely, I'm going to go with Theon.
Oh, Theon's for sure dead.
Right off the bat, though. I'm predicting this within the next episode or 2.
Okay, let's talk about some of the odds out here that are on the next death. Euron Greyjoy is at 5-1. Theon is almost even money.
Theon should be. This is who dies, right?
This is who dies first. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, Theon even. That makes sense.
Cersei's paying out 7.5-1. Jaime 3-1.
I don't think Jaime's gonna die.
Arya 15-1. Tyrion 15-1. Most of these are pretty obvious outside of that. Jon Snow and Sansa aren't going to die off the jump. So right now, Vegas looks like Theon is the favorite.
Do they have a dragon dying?
No, but there is a prop bet for which dragon will be destroyed next.
I think it's gonna be the one that Jon Snow's riding.
Well, that's Rhaegal.
Rhaegal. I think that's gonna be the one that goes next, and then that might prevent Daenerys from continuing on the fight, and maybe have a reason for her to kind of fly away on the other dragon, which would, if the North does win, would also give more claim to like Jon Snow as the leader or the rightful heir.
So Rhaegal and Viserion are at even money, says Vegas, and Drogon is at paying out 5-1. So it's unlikely that Drogon dies first.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Other props, we got who kills Cersei. Jaime's the favorite, followed by Arya. Tyrion at 6-1. Sansa at 15-1. I think after this, we're sort of getting into the real long shots. But there's also a 4-1 prop bet that says she does not die at all at the series end.
Mark, you were saying you think she's going to last forever, right?
I don't think she's going to remain on the throne, but I don't think she's going to die.
They're not going to just put her in the dungeon, though. Like, if they catch her, they'll kill her.
I don't think she's going to be caught, though. She'll escape, but she'll give up the throne.
Okay. The fact that these bookmakers can say it's almost even money on certain characters living or dying tells us that we really don't know what the hell is going to happen. And I appreciate that.
True.
I think every episode I want to ask you guys, what is the most badass thing that happened in the entire thing? So, Brick, why don't you go first?
I would say Sansa not taking any shit from Dany, even though they were having that moment. And she's like, well, the North still isn't going to have a king or a queen. We basically usurped from the kingdom. We are our own sovereign nation at this point. And then the guy came in and said, oh, yeah, there's something else going on. But I thought just her standing her ground and being a badass was probably the most badass moment.
Mark, what do you think?
Just anything with Bran in it.
Fuck you, dude. There's a clear and obvious answer for this, and it is Lyanna Mormont telling Ser Jorah that basically she's the baddest motherfucker in the Seven Kingdoms, and he can go pound sand.
What's the odds of her dying first?
There are no odds on her currently. I would start a riot. I think that she should be shooting up the charts as the favorite to sit on the Iron Throne because she's the only one of these people that has zero flaws.
I would actually like to see a spin-off of her.
There's 4 of them coming.
Her as an adult, or just her
yes,
now?
As not like a real old adult, but aging into a grown woman.
All right, so let's talk about what we think is coming down the pike, and that includes theories. So I want to point out that the next episode is going to be directed by the guy who did Battle of the Bastards.
Oh, dude.
The Gift, and Hard Home. So this guy's name is Miguel Sapochnik. Sorry if I butchered that completely, but I think that basically means that we're just going to get a couple huge battles. So he's doing episodes 3 and 5. So in the middle there might be a little bit of a lull, but we're due for some bloodshed here, and it's going to come hard and it's going to come fast.
I think the whole episode 3 will just be the battle all the way through.
I agree. And it's going to be a magnificent death at the end that's going to, just similar to what happened with Jaime in that episode in season 7 where he just starts floating underneath water.
And Bronn saves him.
Yeah, and you're not sure who's dead. You're not sure if he's going to be alive or not. There's going to be some sort of mysterious aspect to it. That's what I'm looking for that.
So Dany threw out an interesting point here, and I'll just throw this out as a long shot theory, but I hadn't really considered this. She says something along the lines of, so you have this really, really far out there theory, and the only 2 people in the world that know about it are your brother and your best friend.
Yeah.
So what if it's bullshit? Do you think there's any credence to that at all?
No, but she's justified to say that 100%.
It is a little convenient.
Absolutely.
Does she believe that Bran's a 3-eyed raven?
I don't think anybody knows what the fuck the 3-eyed raven is.
I don't think so either, but if she believed in him seeing into the past and all his powers that he's had over the last few seasons, yeah, she has to take his word for it. She has to take Jon's word for it.
Yeah, she's experienced witchcraft. People have seen Jon Snow come back from the dead. She has fucking dragons.
But also, do you think in the back of her mind she actually really knew before he even said anything, since he could ride a dragon? And wasn't she familiar that if you can ride a dragon, you're a Targaryen, essentially?
That's not necessarily true. There have been other people that have ridden dragons, but generally it's just Targaryens. I posited that theory last week. This made it seem as though she was surprised to hear that, so I don't think that's the case anymore.
Yeah, she can connect the dots eventually. I think that would be one of the dots that she would connect, but I don't know. She can definitely consider this to be an outside the pot theory.
All right, you guys got any other theories before we close it out?
Big Cat brought up a big theory on Pardon My Take that I thought was pretty interesting, that the Hound might have actually been dead and the faceless god has taken his face, and just as Danny Dupersteining Arya. What do you think of that theory?
That's pretty far out there, but who would be impersonating the Hound?
It's a good question. Plus, the Hound needs to be alive in order to fight the Mountain at the end, so I don't know. I don't know how much water that holds.
That's a good point. If we don't get that showdown, I'm going to be really pissed.
Everyone will be pissed. It'll be the Super Bowl that never happened.
I have an extremely detailed, I don't know if I'd call it a theory, it's just a prediction. I think one of the main battle scenes will be Brienne and like that main White Walker that rides that horse that's seen better days. That's literally has no flesh. And they're going to have a standoff. Essentially, she is going to be killed and Jaime will come in last minute to actually kill that White Walker, but will be like grasping her as she dies in his arms type thing.
So then she's going to come back and murder him as a White Walker?
Possibly. Or maybe she'll begin coming back and he'll be crying and like, I don't want to have to do this. And then he'll just stab her with dragon glass.
I mean, the big question is whether or not Brienne and Tormund get it on.
Exactly. Does Giantsbane see this all go down and then just hate Jaime from here on out and have a big feud?
Giantsbane is going to have some epic scenes, though, in episode 3. You know that.
He's a psycho.
God, when he just pounded the milk out of that horn. Ugh.
Was it milk?
I don't know. It looked white. I couldn't tell what it was, but it was gross either way.
Maybe it was teat milk.
God, I hope not. All right, last chance. Speak now, forever hold your peace. What are you going to do until Sunday night?
I'm just going to look at pictures of Bran staring into the abyss.
That's literally all he's good for.
I'm going to go into a small coma until Sunday, and that's it.
At least we have Avengers Endgame to hold us over, like, middle of the week.
Oh, yeah, Thursday. Let's go. What about the theories that Tony Stark is actually a Stark, and he's going to come back in time through the quantum realm and then save everybody?
And then get eaten by a dragon.
And then they're going to bring back Melisandre, the Red Witch, to team up with the Scarlet Witch, and then that's how they take down Thanos. Through his anus, obviously.
Oh, you know what? There was one other thing that everybody's talking about on Twitter. In the second episode, I think, Robert Baratheon and Ned Stark talk about bringing their families together. Obviously, at the time, it was between Joffrey and Sansa. But this time, it's actually Arya and Gendry. Not the way they planned it, but it did work out in the end.
That was great. When I saw that meme, I was like, full circle transcendence right there.
Good callback. All right, I think that's going to wrap it up for our recap of episode 2. Send us your theories.
Memes, too.
Send them directly to Brick so he knows that the season's going to be spoiled for him. And I guess until next time.
Jumps out when the fuck is. Shooby dooby 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 dooby.